Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Ted Gardner, and I'm an interviewer with the Library of Congress Oral History Project, which is so capably run here by our wonderful public library in downtown Cincinnati. Dennis Daly, a historian, part of the history department here at the library, is our videographer, and Pat, it's a real pleasure to meet you. And
pleasure to meet you.
Well, thank you. But you know, important thing is that we've got you here, and we're going to get your story, and that's very important. Over the years, we've lost so many people who never told their stories. And once they're gone and they didn't tell their story, valuable history has been lost, because everyone has a story to tell, no matter where they were or what they did. And it's important to get that on the record. Where were you born, Pat?
You were born in Detroit.
Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah,
And what year?
1917.
Oh, wow, 1917. Golly, you're
September 29th.
You're 92 years old, huh?
Yeah, it
Wow.
will be next month.
Next month. That's wonderful. You look great. Gee, that's really something. You grew up in Detroit, did you? What
Yeah.
kind of a family did you have?
I had a sister who was 21 years older than I was. She was more like a cousin.
Yeah, right. I'll be
And
darned.
she had 10 kids.
She had 10, wow.
They were more like cousins. And
Why,
we were
yeah.
all in the same age bracket.
Certainly. Well, that's very interesting. Where did you start out in school?
In Detroit, is UD High.
Okay.
And
And
Jesu grade school.
yes. And then high school? Where did you go to high school?
UD High School.
Oh, UD High School?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. University of Detroit, that is.
Yeah.
UD, okay. Well, that's 1917, boy. There was a lot going on at that time in the
Yeah,
world.
there was.
World War I was on.
I didn't know.
No, of course not. But it was beginning, it was the type of thing that would have an effect on lives, you know, on people's lives.
Yeah.
Not necessarily everyone participated, but it was interesting, and of course it was changing the world picture as well. And things were expanding in our nation. What do you remember as a boy? As a schoolboy? Anything interesting there about your family or you, the schools you went to?
No, I really don't.
Did you have particular interests, any hobbies, or play sports or anything like that?
Well, I had just the usual. I mean, things weren't as organized then as they are now.
Yeah, that's
It was
for
mostly
sure.
pickup games,
Right,
football,
sure.
softball.
Sandlot baseball,
Yeah.
things like that. Playing in the neighborhood, just as you say.
In fact, we had a game called Scrub, where you didn't have two full teams. You got as many as you had, and you rotated around
Oh,
until
yeah?
you were out every position.
Sure. Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of that one. Well, so let's see now, 1917, then you finished high school 1925? No, longer than that, 1935.
33, I think it was.
33, okay. Okay, well, 1933, that was tough times.
Yeah,
Right.
depression.
Depth of the depression.
Well, I didn't affect me at all.
How about your parents? What did they do?
Well, my mother was just a mother and a
Stay at home?
housewife. Yeah,
Yeah,
most of them were those days.
yes.
And my dad was a lawyer,
Well, that's interesting, okay.
and he, during the worst of the Depression, I remember him getting fees, groceries, people bring
Yeah.
in, sort of barter.
Right. Yeah, that was very common in those days. I can remember those too.
Yeah,
Yeah. People trade off services or goods,
right.
For what they did and so forth. Well, now, so 1933, then you were
Wait a minute, correction, it's 35. I think.
35, yeah, okay. 1935, then you were out of high school. Then what happened?
Then I joined the Jesuit order and went down to Milford and Novitiate.
Oh, down here.
Yeah,
I'll be darned.
and went through 4 years there, and then we switched to West Baden College in Indiana
Indiana.
for philosophy, and well, as things went along, I realized I did not have a vocation, because mostly they're teachers. I just couldn't bear
Mm-hmm.
thinking of a life of teaching over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
It would be boring after a while. So the war came along. I thought, boy, I'm missing something. And well, you get simple vows at the beginning, and those are cancelable
I
through
see.
proper authority.
Okay. Yeah.
And you don't get final vows except for about 19 years. So I thought, well, here's my way out. I got something to do anyhow.
Yeah. Everywhere along life's path, there are certain events that took place that you never forget,
Yeah.
and where you were. Where were you on December the 7th, 1941?
I was at West Baden, and somebody knocked on the door and said, hey, he told me about it.
How about that?
And of course, there was no television, but we heard
Right.
on the radio.
Did you have any, did you go right into the service after Pearl Harbor, or?
That wasn't possible. Yeah, I had to wait and get my release
I
from
see.
the order, and that came through pretty fast, about
Mhm.
6 months. And then, can't remember what day.
Did
What
you
year?
have a certain branch of the service that you wanted to be a part of?
Yeah, the Army.
The Army,
Yeah.
okay. Good for
And,
you.
So when I got out, I right away went to recruiting office and volunteered,
Right.
was accepted, and went
Where-
through all the rigmarole, tests and everything, first couple of days.
Where did they send you for basic?
I can't remember the name, it was a fort in Virginia.
Okay.
Uh,
Fort Belvoir,
no, it was,
Fort Lee.
to my disgust, it was a quartermaster thing. I didn't join up to count cans of beans. So I as soon as I got assigned to a training platoon, I went to see the captain and he said, "Let me out of here." He said, "Sorry, that's the way it, from your test, they decided you would be good at this."
Sure.
So he said, "I sympathize with you." And he said, "The only way to get out, I'll tell you, is to volunteer for officer training."
Okay.
He said, "I'll recommend you." And so that I took my basic training. Or basic training was pretty much the same for any branch.
Right.
A little more of some things for some people, but
Yeah. In the Navy, we called it boot camp.
yeah. Well, anyhow, after basic training was over, they kept me on as part of the cadre for training. And it wasn't long before I got my orders to I don't know if I can remember the name of that place either.
It's all right.
I had specifically asked for either infantry or field artillery.
Okay.
So typical Army.
Sure.
I got artillery, but it was anti-aircraft artillery.
Oh, it
It
was.
was in North Carolina. Wasn't real happy with that either, but
You were getting a touch of the South too, weren't you?
yeah. Well, I went through that training and graduated, and we got shipped out right away to, of all places, the West Indies,
For heaven's sake.
Trinidad.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, they had.
And you were still in the artillery.
Yeah, they had. Well, there were two branches of the 90 millimeter big heavy guns and 40 millimeters, double barreled.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anti-aircraft.
you had those in the Navy too.
Sure.
But I was in the 90s, and we had a hilltop emplacement 90 millimeter guns, 4 of them, aimed down at the harbor because a submarine had sneaked in there a couple months before, and they got rid of them, but they were afraid it'd happen again. There was a lot of shipping going through there.
Oh yeah. Well, the Nazis really preyed along our coast there
Yeah,
for a while until we finally got them out of there. Now, you were an officer. You got your commission.
yeah, second
Second
lieutenant.
lieutenant, shave tail, and did you have a company of men, or what was your position there?
It was a battery, they call
The
them.
battery.
Yeah,
How many men were in the battery? You remember?
6,
Okay,
I think.
6, and that was with the big gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and well, we did have some practice during training, also training school.
Mm-hmm.
We went out to a place called Sears Landing, was on the coast, and wax would fly, planes dragging a target,
Oh yes. Right.
and they have,
Did you ever shoot down a plane that was dragging a target?
we got close to tow planes a couple times.
I know. Well, that must have been a very impressive thing on a young man such as you, and particularly being so far from home. From North Carolina, then were you transferred to another?
We graduated,
Okay.
had a short leave, and we were assigned to Fort to New Orleans
Mm-hmm.
for a shipment. We didn't know where we were going. Darn ship noodled around the Gulf for a while,
Sure.
stopped in Panama, and finally made it to Trinidad. And about 5 or 6 months I stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
In there.
How'd you like that tropical island?
It was great. Ideal climate. It was hot during the day, but every night you had to use a blanket.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
You know, ideal climate.
Yeah.
And they decided that the Puerto Rican Infantry regiment was going to switch over to anti-aircraft and be transferred to Panama. So they peeled off a few of us and shipped us to Puerto Rico to help the training.
Oh, yes.
And since none of us knew Spanish, it was sort of a mess.
Yeah.
But a lot of the guys knew. We had non-coms for translating.
Sure.
And here I was thinking, shoot, the war will be over and I'll never see anything. But how was that now? They said that we were looking for volunteers to join the infantry.
Mm-hmm.
And so I jumped at that, yeah, and got sent up to Fort Benning for additional basic training,
Mm-hmm.
3 months. And during the course of that, D-Day happened. I missed that. And
When did you, now, did they send you to Panama? Did
No.
you never went to Panama?
just a stopover.
Just a stopover, I see.
Yeah, they gave us shore leave.
Yeah. Now, did you, from there, and of course, by this time you had linked up with the infantry, right? And did they send you to Europe?
Well, they called for volunteers for paratroopers
Oh.
toward the end of the basic training.
Mm-hmm.
So I volunteered for that and was accepted and went through 90 days of hell. There seemed to me their major purpose was to drive the people out of it,
Yeah,
and they did. About
Yeah.
half the enlisted men didn't make it,
yeah.
and there was about 3 or 4 officers.
But they wound up with the tough guys, didn't they?
Yeah, the ones that were motivated, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we got a short, I graduated from that and we got a short leave and went to, shipped over to Europe.
Did you ship out of New York or out
Yeah,
of? Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah.
On a big transport?
No, it was a reconditioned liner. I think it was, I was trying to think of what the original,
Mm-hmm.
it was the United States, that was the name of it.
Right.
And we docked in Britain and were sorted out. And I got to the 508 Parachute Infantry. We were stationed in Nottingham, Robin Hood Day place.
Now, you had had a lot of practice jumps, right,
Yeah, well,
in your training?
5,
5.
yeah.
That's a
And
lot.
they were all high, but the last one, just to give us
Right.
a station, we jumped from 500 feet, but that was no problem.
Well, Nottingham, England, boy, that's a historic area.
What? Yeah,
Wow.
Sherwood Forest was still
Sure.
there, a couple of twigs sticking out. And an old inn dating back to the Crusades. It was called the Journey to Jerusalem. It had been constantly in business all that time as an inn.
How about that? Wow. You were living in history.
Yeah. We were stationed out at one of the stately homes, I guess they call them. It had been given over. It was, of course, fenced in, and we didn't live in the stately home. We had pyramidal tents, four at a tent, and we went through settling in. They only tried to see who would do what, and they found I'd been in the artillery. Said, good, we need artillery spotter.
Yeah, right.
And so I got sent to a place in Wales for, I think, 10 days. The field artillery school there. And you learn how to spot for them. And came back, and now this was September, getting into September.
Now, we're talking, what, 1944?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see what. Oh, we got a call, mission. It's after D-Day, and they were pushing through France.
Right, yeah.
And the Germans, or Hitler, I guess, was held the 15th German Army along the coast because he's afraid of more landings. Guess it finally dawned on them that there weren't going to be any more landings. They were moving too fast on the ground. So he decided to pull the 15th Army back. I guess intelligence found that out. And they cocked up a operation where we would jump in front of them and keep them from crossing a river and hold them where they were. So we all briefed on it and everything, and went out to the airport, and planes were loaded up and everything. And the last moment, the word came to stand down. They beat us out.
Oh, they
Had already got out. So we stood down, and it was September 17th was the next operation. That one went through. That was the Market Garden.
Oh, Market Garden, yeah.
Yeah,
That was a big,
liberated.
with the British, yeah.
Yeah, British really.
Yeah, did you ever read the book A Bridge Too Far? Cornelius Ryan's book?
I think I saw the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Now, as a parachuter and as in combat, were you fired at when you were jumping and that sort of thing?
yeah, but you're awful hard to hit. I
Yeah.
mean, you can imagine.
Sure.
And it was an easy drop because we didn't even have to fall and roll.
Oh, good.
It was a plowed field.
That was lucky.
Well, what they did, we found later, was spread the 82nd out just south of Nijmegen.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bridge there over the Wall River, which is a branch of the Rhine, and Arnhem was next, about 20 miles along.
This was in Holland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we landed okay, but I think Eisenhower was a little leery about it, but he gave in to Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't have enough stuff.
Right. Didn't have enough support.
The Brits jumped in Arnhem. And what none of us knew, and no information got out, was there was a woods right between Arnhem and extending back into Germany, called the Reichswald, I think. And there they had a full German panzer division.
Wow.
Jerked off the lines from Russia.
Uh-huh.
They were
Yeah, they brought them back, yeah.
arming and remanning, and they were right there.
Wow.
To meet us.
Oh my gosh.
Or they didn't meet us, they met the Brits.
Yeah.
At first. Boy, I think they got 2,500 people out of 10,000 out
Mm-hmm.
eventually.
Yeah.
They put up a good fight. And
Were our casualties pretty high?
theirs were.
Theirs were.
Yeah. We didn't get too bad.
Good.
Of course, we didn't know about it. You don't know who
No.
was getting hit.
While it's happening, you don't know what's going on. I know.
People reading the papers knew more than we did.
Sure.
The 82nd was the lead, the nose of that drive,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, that was a famous outfit, the 82nd Airborne.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. None better.
Oh, I was in the 508 Regiment,
Mm-hmm.
which had just joined them,
I see.
and the 508 was the forefront of our drop.
Mm-hmm.
And we were right outside the suburbs of Arnhem.
Right.
And we got everything organized and infantry collected equipment. Our first mission was to go in and hold the bridge.
The bridge at Arnhem?
Bridge, yeah, no, the bridge at Nijmegen,
Nijmegen.
across the Wall River.
Right.
Oh, it looked as big as the Rhine to me, but it was an offshoot of it. And it's a big suspension bridge.
Hmm.
And so it had been a daylight drop. Most of them before were nighttime drops. And in Normandy, it got so bogged up, nobody knew where anybody was.
Right.
The pilots got lost.
Yeah, I know. It was a
It
terrible,
was a mess.
terrible mess.
So
Yeah.
they figured this one, we'll try a day one. So it had to be close. And we dropped from 300 feet.
Oh, wow.
Just barely had time for the thing to pop open and
Yeah.
stop you.
Right.
But we gathered everything up and
Did you get wounded or?
not then, but
Not then.
later. We were to march by night into Nijmegen and get the bridge under control. And so we did. We went along a lot of stops and we finally made it in. And there was, the Germans had come over the bridge and they were going to have a firefight going on in town.
Wow.
Nobody could see anything, but I was headquarters company of the 1st Battalion. And headquarters company had the heavy weapons. I was in charge of mortars, 81 millimeter mortars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drop it and jump.
Yeah.
So we lugged those darn mortars in there.
Oh, gee.
And,
That's a lot of weight.
well, we had GIs with strong backs who did it. And we got blocked, came to a halt right in town, and there was a fight going on ahead of us, and we had to wait till we find out what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we were outside of a big building. We didn't know what it was. So we said it might be a good idea to get in there and have a place to shoot from.
Sure.
And turned out it was a concert hall. Pretty good size. And, well, we had to abandon a couple of our mortars when we ducked in there.
Mm-hmm.
And after it got daylight and we could see what was going on, we got out and got those in. But things had quieted down. I guess they drove them across the bridge. They didn't tell us all this stuff.
I'm trying to remember, was that the bridge that had the Germans placed explosives on it? Do you know that, whether they were going to blow that bridge?
Yeah, that happened later when they decided they couldn't win it back.
Okay,
They bombed it and it didn't do any good.
right.
And they had some swimmers come in and plant explosives. And some of them went and never did through the bridge.
Yeah,
It was still useful.
that's good, yeah.
And besides that, they put a floating bridge in
Oh, they did?
alongside it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But to get back to the
Nijmegen, yeah,
Nijmegen night,
Nijmegen night.
we retreated back where we were coming from. Some gotten word that our glider troops were due in the next day, and we wanted to clear the field for them. So we lugged that stuff down. People were standing along the highway, waving to us and jumping up and down,
They were so happy you were there.
thrusting bottles of wine at us.
No kidding.
And they were real happy.
Yeah,
And they never did get back under German control.
right.
We moved out to farm country where the gliders were supposed to come in. and looked for a place we could set up our mortars to do some sanitizing of the woods before they came.
Yeah.
And Holland is flat as a pancake most places. There are a few gentle hills there. And to observe fire, you have to be able to see. So I had to climb a windmill.
For God's sake.
So when I say windmill in Holland, you're thinking of those big things with the sails.
Mm-hmm.
This was a normal standard farm windmill. The guy had put a generator in it, and he's probably running some home things with it. But anyhow, it was high,
Right.
and I could see something. And well, the jotters came through. Boy, that's always a mess. They cut loose,
Mm-hmm.
and it's every glider for itself. You got to go around.
Yeah.
Most of them are controlled crashes.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Yeah, that was very, very, very dangerous.
yeah, but we did get some fire. I mean, apparently the Germans were somewhere around there, and they
Mhm.
saw me up in the windmill, and then buzzing by, but they missed. But anyhow, that we never did find out everything that happened there, but we went back to a place where we were all getting together,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was night, and spent the night there. And the next day we went around looking over. You could see Germany from there.
Mm.
And next to the, in fact, I was looking for a OP where I could get a glimpse of what was there. It was pretty level ground. And I was looking for an OP, but I didn't find one. Wasn't anything high enough. But I had a runner who'd followed me,
Sure.
and a Messerschmitt started circling overhead, and we didn't pay attention to him. He's not going to fire two people. So we were sort of hungry, and runner, he was a real character from Brooklyn,
Uh-huh.
typical Brooklyn.
Had the
He
accent and
caught
everything.
Oh yeah, and he caught a chicken and wrung its neck,
Oh, my God.
and there was another one going. He said, "Might as well have two." So he couldn't catch it. He pulled out his .45 and started shooting at it. Meanwhile, the Messerschmitt saw us and came and
Oh, he did.
gave us a burst and left. But that was the darndest thing. Chasing that chicken.
Oh, yeah. Hey, there's a war going on here.
Yeah. And he plucked it and we ate it.
Uh-huh. How about that?
And
Well, you were lucky you didn't get hit by that Messerschmitt.
well, there was a long chance anyhow.
Yeah, right.
Then the next night we went in a different direction, or the next day. And I found a reasonably good place with trees, and you could see
Mm-hmm.
all the way across the plain. And we set up a OP there. And meanwhile, a couple of the guys wanted to be the first ones to set foot in Germany.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So there was nothing doing. There was a woods, and we could tell that the woods was the boundary. So 3 or 4 of us just walked over there and unzipped our pants. We were the first, we thought.
Yeah, right. And you'll leave your mark on Germany.
Yeah. In our opinion.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet there were a few things said.
Well, some guys further down south trying to be first too, but who cares?
Yeah.
But and then it was sort of a hurry up and wait deal.
Mm-hmm.
Typical Army, probably
Yeah.
Navy too.
Now, I mean, this was a little bit before the Battle of the Bulge, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
A
That
month.
came later in December.
yeah.
Right, right. Did you get involved in that?
I did, but that's another story.
Well, good.
We sent patrols out, and they sent them, but nothing really happened. And we did get pulled back for a while and for a stay in town, change of clothes. And I got my boots off for the first time. There were absolutely no feet in them.
Okay. Just warm up.
Yeah, they had some. They dumped them off. And some nice townspeople got talking to us when we were walking around. Said, "Would you like to take a shower?" I said, "God, are we that bad?" And I said, "Well, yeah, if it doesn't inconvenience you." "No, we'd be honored."
Oh boy, yeah.
And so we all went up and got a shower,
Isn't that wonderful?
hot shower.
Yeah.
And had to put our dirty clothes on back then, but we did get some new issue clothes too afterward.
Mm-hmm.
But the Dutch were the greatest people. They were
Very
so
friendly.
friendly. And most of them talked English,
Yeah. Oh, they're very
because they
educated,
have a
aren't
big
they?
commerce with Britain.
Sure.
And, well, really nothing more happened. I mean, the 504, the other regiment from it, went across the river and secured the other end of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a short firefight there, but nothing much.
How was your chow? How was your food? Pretty bad. Were you
Well, they
on
were
sea
ca-
rations?
C rations,
Yeah.
and K rations.
Yeah.
Well, they did have 4 cigarettes in each packet.
Mm-hmm. Everybody smoked in
Yeah.
those days. Yeah.
Well, I didn't like cigarettes. I always smoked a pipe, but that's not the thing to do when you're in the Army.
No.
There's no time.
No, it takes too much fiddling.
10-minute break, just time for a cigarette.
Yeah, that's right.
So I got the cigarette. Well, I got hooked on British cigarettes.
Did you?
Yeah, they're really great, mild, tasty.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, it was just over and over boring sit
Right.
down there. And so in November, we got orders to go back. Well, the British armored force broke through right the second day of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept coming through, and they were taken over. So we moved back by truck, standing in the back, we didn't go back to our original place in Nottingham. It was a little French village called Sisson, not Soissons, Sisson.
Cecil.
They had a big army barracks there, but there was no one in them. The French army was kaput. So we moved into that and did some training, took hikes, map reading, all that.
Basic stuff.
Yeah. And
Well, I think it's just amazing what you did. Young, strong, you were well educated, you were a leader, you were a brave man, you jumped in a parachute out of a plane and all that sort of thing, and you led men and you directed people. And I think it's just, it's remarkable what the Yanks did. You know, there were 16.5 million Americans served in World War II, and all branches and everything, you know.
yeah,
But what our nation accomplished, don't you feel? I'm sure you do. Feel
I
a
do.
pride in being a part of eradicating the terrible influences that were going on in the
Yes,
world
I
at
did.
that time.
and I hope we can keep them eradicated.
Oh gosh, oh, it's terrible.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now, after Market Garden, you were back and you were doing training
Just
and
waiting for the next move.
waiting for the next move. Then
Yeah.
what happened?
Well, we started, they were parceling out leaves to Paris, a weekend leave,
Mm-hmm.
a little recreation. So they asked us when we'd like to go. I said, well, I'd like to wait for New Year's. It should be really hopping by then.
Right.
And so on the 16th of November, we got the word, Germans are on the move.
Oh.
They had that was sort of a quiet front, and they had a freshly minted regiment
Mm-hmm.
picked up from different people that they thought weren't doing pulling their weight. And they got hit first. And I had suffered pretty badly, and it was a big retreat started. And
Now, were you under Patton? Were you under General Patton at that time, or Bradley, or?
no, he was down south.
Okay.
So we got in trucks, got our equipment together, got in trucks, and they took us into Belgium
Oh.
to try to stop them. And we putzed around there for a while. Nobody knew what was going on, really.
Right.
And to complicate things, the Germans got a hold of a bunch of U.S. uniforms,
Yes. Oh.
and they used them,
That was
and you couldn't tell who was what.
that was a terrible slaughter and everything.
Yeah. Well,
Deception.
anyhow, we finally found a spot in a town named Vilsholm. Actually, it was two towns. The Somme River ran
Oh,
down
yeah.
there, and field was on one side and some was on the other. I don't know which was.
Mm-hmm.
But this is right in the middle of the I'll think of it, forest. So the Germans first in 1940 came through the same route.
Mm-hmm.
And they were coming back the same way.
Right.
But there was a main highway going through Vielsalm. It was its only virtue, I guess. And we emplaced our mortars back behind a hill. There are hills in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out, and I went out looking for a OP and getting wired in. Those radios we had were useless.
Really?
Nothing but static.
Oh, gosh.
So we relied on sound power telephones. I'd never heard of them. But real fine wire, and you'd go several hundred yards.
Mm.
And the only way to get attention was to whistle into it. Somebody had to be on the phone at the other end.
Yeah, right.
That's how I gave the firing orders. That was very important that we maintain that. And I had a different runner then. He was a wire man. But Vielsalm there's a village on one side and a river. It was a fairly wide river with a bridge, and there's a village on the other. And we were on the west side.
You're on the west side.
And it said, just hold your place. And the refugees from the first hit started coming down that highway, retreating. And one full day, a line of tanks, our tanks, went back to regroup somewhere else, but behind us. And they said, hold the bridge for 24 hours, and then you're on your own. Get out. And
Now, you carried a .45, didn't you? A weapon?
yeah, I had a .45, but I wouldn't use it because if you're close enough to hit something with it, you might as well throw it at them.
Right, that's right. Not too accurate.
No, I always got an M1.
Oh, no, you had an M1 rifle.
Yeah, my Brooklyn boy promoted that, and I said, I know I need an M1. You got it.
Knew how to acquire things, huh?
Yeah, right. Moonlight requisition.
Yeah, right. Well, now, after you held back from 24 hours, that bridge, then were you allowed to go forward?
No, you scatter backwards.
Oh,
Because things were still in a crisis. But all day long it took that tank unit to go through. And
well, did those refugees, did that hold up progress too?
no, what I meant was military refugees.
Oh, military.
Yeah, the survivors.
Did you
And
take prisoners?
Did we?
Did you take prisoners? Yeah.
We didn't see any.
Oh, I see.
But the next morning, I found what had evidently been a nice roomy foxhole that somebody else had dug someplace in the path. It was about 10 foot around,
Mm-hmm.
more than one man.
Sure.
And it had a corrugated iron roof. And I could see right out over the, so after the last refugees went through the village, our A company went and mined the bridge and blew it.
Well, that.
So that stalled the Panzer Division on the other side.
Oh, good.
They weren't real anxious to risk it in daylight.
No.
So we popped a few rounds over on them. And boy, we hit a bee's nest.
Wow.
88s
Really
and the
opened
tanks.
up. Oh my gosh.
Well, we were well protected.
Mm-hmm.
It was just me and my runner, the wireman. So he led the wires back, and another sergeant from the machine gun platoon was in the area, and he joined me in there.
Nice.
He had a machine gun, 50 caliber.
So you were pretty well protected there, weren't you?
Yeah, but not against the Panzer Division.
No, that's true.
But that barrage of artillery, it shredded those wires from the.
Oh my gosh.
We were out of communication.
Sure. Gee.
And I tried to get him. The wireman couldn't come from the other side, but I didn't know him. For all I knew, he might have been dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because that highway went along, and it cut through the middle of town, and you had to cross it to get back to where we had our mortars. And they had that well under fire.
Wow.
So it was just a case of sit. And I decided to go out. The snow was a foot deep.
Cold. Ooh.
And I figured, well, something's delayed him. I'll see if I can find the brake. So I went out, and here I am, outlined in black against that white snow and the hillside.
Yeah. Prime target.
Yeah. Well, they were shooting at me, but I was not too heft on German marksmanship. They weren't that good.
Yeah.
But I never did find but those despised marksmen got me.
They did.
One of them.
Where did it hit you?
Through the
In the ankle?
metatarsal, yeah.
Wow.
In and out. At first, I didn't think, I said, what happened? Felt like somebody took a sledgehammer and knocked my feet in it.
Yeah.
What in the world? And I couldn't see any blood,
Mm-hmm.
feel anything. So I got up and started again, and
Oh,
collapsed.
sure.
So,
Did you have a medic right nearby? No.
and none could get, it was down about 50 feet of snow that I
Yeah,
got hit in.
right.
Nobody's going to try. In fact, they didn't even know we were still there.
Wow.
After that barrage, they probably thought we were gone.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time, Pat.
Okay.
I'm sorry that we can't.
That's all
You
right.
got such a wonderful story. Did they take you back to England to hospital?
Yeah.
Okay, how
They
long?
waited until dark, and the medics took me up.
Okay. You got a Purple Heart.
Yeah.
Okay. And when did you come back to the States?
It was in February.
February 45.
Hmm. I was in the hospital at Southern England. I forget where it was.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they went up by train, hospital train, to Glasgow,
Oh, up Scotland.
and they ferried us out to, guess what? The Queen Mary.
Oh, wow. You came back on that big, fast liner.
Yeah, they didn't go in convoy. It
No,
was too
she
fast.
went straight across.
But they sure had protected that against everything. The paintings and everything had plywood over them, and
Yeah,
it was not exactly a luxurious ship at that
no, not
point.
at that time.
It was
Well-
a 4-day crossing.
4 days across. Well, it's just a remarkable story, and God bless you for what you did and how you survived and everything. And
Enjoyed almost every minute of it.
I did too. You know, people say, "Well, wasn't it terrible?" Well, yeah, but you know, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Combat is 95% boredom
Yeah.
and 5% sheer terror.
Yeah, that's right. One extreme or the other. Well, thank you so much for being here, and
Well,
thank you for your
listening.
service. And it's just been a real honor for me to have the chance to talk with you and learn about you. And
Brought up things that I hadn't thought about so long.
well, good. That's the idea of the whole thing. Well, we thank you so much. God bless. And
There's a disclaimer here.
oh.
I'm not guaranteeing that all these things are accurate.
That's okay.
My memory is going.
We understand perfectly.
I lose my cane every day.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness for your cane. I know what you mean.